Hello everyone, welcome to CAT verbal sessions. Now I am going to do the contextual vocabulary session. Contextual vocabulary session. What is contextual vocabulary? What is vocabulary? Vocabulary is all about words, word knowledge, how many words you know here, how many words you speak, how many words if others speak you understand. All these will come under vocabulary. Now this vocabulary, with respect to contextual vocabulary, why is it important? What is it that we need to know? Before we discuss in detail contextual vocabulary, the general questions that students pose is, how should I improve my vocabulary? How should I improve my vocabulary? What do I say? Okay, you need to read words. You need to remember words. That's true. You need to read and remember. Unless that is happening, it's not so easy. But this is not a process where you just by heart things. You just memorize things. It's a process where you have some strategies that you can follow. A learning process can be categorized into two parts. One is implicit learning and the other one is explicit learning. What is implicit learning? Readers learn new words by repeatedly encountering them in text. That means you read the word again and again and again, or most importantly, the other way is you listen to words. You listen to words. For example, assume English is your mother tongue, vernacular language. Mother tongue, we call it as vernacular language. Assume English your vernacular language. You might be listening to words since you are in mother's womb, right? So you gradually pick words. Even before you go to school, you learn words. How? You're listening. You're speaking. So learning can happen by that too. Listen. That will help you to learn. The other way of learning is explicit process, where you deliberately put some efforts to learn words. Okay, today I have to read this newspaper. I need to gather at least 5 words and study those words. That's something that you might have. Explicit learning, structural analysis, the use of word paths or split the word into different components. Suppose you have this word like what do you call? Monopoly. What is monopoly? Yes? What is monopoly? Okay. Mono, one. At least that much you should be able to guess. Monopoly. Monopoly in an industry. Monopoly, there is a game. I'm sure some of you was thinking, Monopoly game. Okay. But monopoly is also like railways in India is a monopoly. Do you have any other railways other than Indian railways, the government railways? Monopoly. There's no other producer in the market. Monopoly. Okay, so from the word mono, I tried to guess it's like one, and from there I proceed on. That is explicit learning. That is explicit learning. Okay. Now, I have this small tiny paragraph here. I want you to read this paragraph. Everybody take a minute, read this paragraph. You have some highlighted words here. I want you to guess the meaning of these highlighted words. I'll give you 1 minute to read. Okay, hope you all read it. Yes, I hope everybody could see what is written on the board and read it. Let me read it out for all of you once again. Sharon lay in a hospital bed, sustained by a feeding tube. Something is like going inside through a tube. His body shrank. So if he was like this, he became something like this. His legacy slowly shifted. Both admired and reviled as Israel's signature warrior, he has been more remembered as Prime Minister. 5 years marked by restraint, first by restraint, then by actions, both bold and unexpected. The things you see from here, you don't see from there, he once reportedly said, explaining the difference in perspective when you head up your nation's government. So we can guess one thing. Who do you think is Sharon? He is a citizen of which country? Probably Israel. Unlike we have the case of Sonia Gandhi, who was initially the citizen of Italy. Probably later she accepted the citizenship of India. Or Mother Teresa, initially she is from Yugoslavia, and later she probably accepted the thing. My GK might be wrong, but you could check the facts. Sharon, let's assume he is Israel's Prime Minister. That makes more sense. And currently he is in the hospital, not doing well, not keeping well. Sustained by feeding tube. What does the word sustain mean? What do you think feeding tube is? Assume I'm in a hospital bed like this. So people want to feed me. I'm not chewing. I'm not saying, okay, give me food, I'll chew and eat. Then what do people do? Either I'll have glucose, or they might give me fluids through my nose so that they directly go into my tummy or from my mouth, something like that, only fluid based food. So why is that food being given to me? So that my body is maintained, so that my body lives, it has the energy. Sustain, maintain. Sustain, maintain. This word actually has multiple usages, or it's used in different situations and it has different meanings in each situation. For example, he sustained injury. He was driving his new bike very rashly, and he sustained injuries. He experienced injuries. He got some injuries. He experienced, sustained, experienced. So in this given context, it's more about maintaining yourself, sustained injuries, experience. So the word, depending on the usage, depending on the application, meaning might change. Let's get to the next word, reviled. Read the sentence carefully. Both admired and reviled. Both admired and reviled. So if there are some people in Israel, what is their attitude towards this guy? Two attitudes. One is admiration, other one is revile. So what do you think revile could be? Not admire. Not admire. It is opposite of admire. At least that much you should be able to guess. Revile is more like he experienced some abusiveness from people. He or he experienced some retaliation from people. He experienced some dislike from people. Revile. Not admired. Simple words, not admired. He once reportedly said, explaining the perspective when you head up your nation. What do you mean by perspective? I think the Prime Minister of the country's job is like very easy. Everybody will listen to them and they have to get work done. We might think, students' life is so difficult. We have to study 5 subjects, 6 subjects, 11 subjects, labs, assignments and all that. I wish I was the principal of this college. Life would have been so easy, sukoon, happy for me. Well, the principal of the college have to make so many people work. He needs to make your students like you and me to work. He needs to ensure that his staff are working. He needs to ensure that his other team is working. So manager's job is not so easy. You need to make others do their work. You doing your own work is much easier than making other people do their work. That's very difficult job. So perspective is different. As a subordinate, you might think, wow, my manager's role is so cool. But as a boss, he might feel, oh my God, kahan pe aake fas gaya main. It's so difficult. Managing people is so difficult. So, perspective is all about view. What's your perspective? What is your view? V-I-E-W, view. Okay? Now read this. The quote, which likely did not originate with Sharon, was in recent years frequently attributed to him along with a certain sagacity. Sagacity means wisdom, wise, sagacious. He is a sagacious judge, wise, wisdom. Wisdom, you also say shrewd. You also say prudent. Someone who is able to judge what is correct and what is wrong. He has a deep insight, perspicacious. Perspicacious. Okay? A figure who had a reputation for impulsive action gradually lost his rough edges. Roughness is more about rude. Rough edges is more like rude. Rough. He's very rough, rude. Okay, he lost his rough edges. He's no longer rude. Clear? Now, how do I remember this word sagacious? Well, I would say when you have the word sagacious, remember the word sage. This is something we call as mnemonics. What is mnemonics? Mnemonics are tools to remember words. They are tools to remember words. Some clues. And that's what you could master. Okay? Now, what are different types of clues? That's an important question. Well, these are a few rules. There might be many clues, but these are few things that I think you can easily learn. Rewording a sentence. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by rewording a sentence? Now, all of you, show me your nose. Where's your nose? Is it here like this or is it like this? Circuitous route, not straightforward. Then what do you do if somebody shows their nose like this? Then you simplify it. How do you simplify it? Okay, this is my nose. Rewording the sentence, simplifying the sentence. That is one thing that you could do. Look for a synonym or antonym. There may be some clues, even if you do not know the given word, unfamiliar word is there, but there may be some clues nearby which are like synonyms to the given word or antonyms to the given word. If you can identify those synonyms and antonyms, your job becomes easy. Next is apply some general knowledge. Apply some general knowledge. What do you mean by general knowledge? Who is the Prime Minister of India? Last month probably, sometime back, I don't remember exactly. My students gave an exam which had some GK questions. And the GK question was, who is the current Supreme Court Chief Justice? Current Supreme Court Chief Justice. 10 days before the exam date, actually the person changed. You all know that these people won't set exam paper in 1 week before the exam or something like that. And now the students are in trouble. Okay, should I keep what is the current changed person or should I keep the name of the person who was before? But because the problem was both the people were there in the options. I'm not talking about that kind of general knowledge. I'm talking about general knowledge like this. Mid-afternoon, summer. Assume you're walking outside. 2 o'clock, mid-afternoon, summer. No shade of tree and no umbrella. It's scorching hot. Scorching heat. What do you mean by that? Think. Very hot. As if my skin is burning. Scorching. That is general knowledge that I'm talking about. Okay, depending on the situation, how do you infer the meanings and infer the ideas. Look for specific details or definitions. Sometimes you might have definitions there, you might have details there, some additional information, some example. Look at them and guess your meaning. Okay, now you have some sentences here. This is about a context clue. What do you mean by context clue? The words around an unfamiliar word that gives you clues about the unknown word's meaning. The words around an unfamiliar word that give you clues about the unknown word's meaning. Let's read the sentence. Here you have the word lingered. The guilt of cheating in the exam lingered in his mind until he let it off his chest. He let it off his chest. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by lingered? Linger in my mind. Something that stayed in my mind for a very long time. Something that stayed in my mind for a very long time. Linger. You also say linger like this. Why are you lingering in the classroom? You're moving backward and backward, backward and forward, as if you don't have work. Suppose this is study hours. Assume this is study hours and you're lingering in the classroom. Why are you doing that? Linger. Idling away time. Moving back and forth, linger. So the word has multiple meanings, but here we are talking about the thought lingered, stayed in my mind for a very long time until I let it off my chest. What do you mean by let it off my chest? Until I disclosed it to someone. Let's assume this situation. Suppose in your exam you copied answers, OMR sheet tha, you copied answers from your friend who was sitting before you. By good luck, you got more marks than him. If you had just passed, you would have been happy. Okay, thank God I passed. Enough. But because you got more marks than him, somehow you did something and he didn't feel properly, something might have happened that you got more marks. Then you'll have this feeling, oh, I got more marks than him. That's not fair. If you're a good person, you'd feel that, rather than celebrating and boasting that you got more marks. Okay, so the thought, until you share that to him or until you share that to someone else, you'll feel bad. Let it off the chest is more about disclose something, to say something off. The next one. My father is choleric. He fired his secretary, who sent a fax late in the night and which disturbed his sleep. Choleric. Yes, you guys are right. Very angry. Angry bird. Well, this story actually is true. How many of you know about T.N. Seshan? This guy was election commissioner of India in the last decade probably. It's very old news. This guy, it seems he fired his secretary or someone because they sent a fax to him in the night, and because that fax machine makes some noise, right? So this guy was disturbed. So that's a joke about him. I don't know if he really did it or not. In the cartoons that are usually given in the newspaper, there was something like that. I don't remember if it's true or false, but choleric, that's what is more important for us, very angry. Now, if I ask you words related to anger, what words come in your mind? Anger, choleric, fury, frown, these are few words. Fury, anger, frown, anger. Okay? Next one. Definition. Sometimes a writer will provide a formal definition of the unknown word. The contestant outshone all other contestants. He scored highest marks in all areas. So you have this, he scored the best. So he outshone, he outperformed, he did better than everyone. The contestant outshone, did better than everyone. How do I get that? He got more marks than everyone. That gives me the clue there. Next one. Surprisingly, the first day of the year, the stock market plummeted. The stock market plummeted. Nifty dropped. You know the words, right? Sensex. As MBA aspirants, you should know it. Nifty. Forex. Forex is not about NASCOM. Probably. I think I'm making some mistakes here. The New York Stock Exchange. You have the Chinese one. You have the Dow, DOW. I think that's a different one. These are some words that you come across whenever you read the stock related news. You can verify. The indexes could be Sensex and Nifty, Bombay Stock Exchange and Sensex, Nifty and all. Other terms you come across whenever you listen to stock news. Anyhow, Nifty dropped. So plummeted means? In stock markets, you always see this kind of thing, right? Something like this. So if the thing is going suddenly like this, gradually like this, and suddenly it fell down. Plummet. Plummet. That is plummet. Okay? Synonym. More often, a writer will provide a synonym or a brief phrase that defines the unfamiliar word. Martin Luther King was the most venerable liberator who is admired as a symbol of struggle against injustice and racial discrimination. Admired, what do you think it is? Liked or disliked? Aam Aadmi Party leader Kejriwal is admired by some, disliked by some. I am not talking about some. I am talking about just one view here. Venerable, he is admired. So venerable, respectable. Venerable, respectable. Veneration, reverence. Respect. Okay? Against racial discrimination and struggle against injustice. Martin Luther King, actually he is considered as an emancipator. Emancipator, E-M-A-N-C-I-P-A-T-O-R, emancipator. Now what do you mean by the word emancipator? Liberator, emancipator. Martin Luther King was an emancipator of the African Americans. The Negroes, we shouldn't use that word, that's a defamatory word for them. African Americans, or we can also say Mahatma Gandhi is an emancipator for Indians. He worked for the liberation, one who liberated people from clutches. Emancipator. Next one. When the teacher announced about picnic, the student cheered with alacrity and eagerness. Tomorrow you don't have class. So cool. Alacrity, cheerfulness, eagerness. That is alacrity. Okay? You accept it with full of energy and cheerfulness.